Yeah, another big day here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. A little bit later on, Miami Hurricanes live at 4:15 Eastern time, followed up by Florida State Seminoles live, and we're going to do a Clemson show. They are on the practice field for spring practice, and we're going to go an hour live stream at 7 o'clock Eastern time talking Clemson, but an especially big day when we got Uncle Lou stopping by to talk college football. Uncle Lou, how's it going, man?
Hey, good morning to that, Mark. I always love coming on this show. I like to give you a hard time when I call into your show, so I feel like there might be some people out there that are like, why is Uncle Lou always trying to argue with Mark? Because you're not an argumentative. I mean, there's some people on here that have built their channel around arguing. You've taken a more straight-laced analytical approach or whatever, but so I don't know. But if they've ever seen me come on like this, I mean, clearly we get along. We're pretty good friends. We talk fairly often through email or whatever. So, but I do like to give you a hard time when I call into your to your show, though.
I don't mind people taking shots at me, and you're not taking shots. You're just bringing up stuff, and I say that's why I'm here. I'm here for the debate. I just hate when people show up, and you hear this all the time, when they either the argument is so illogical you can't even, like, you were reading comments. I caught part of this video that you did the other day, and I can't remember who the fan base was that was represented, but the comment was so inane, so ridiculous that you almost can't respond to it. It's like, well, everybody knows that this is not.
It was probably the Tennessee one where
they were going to go like 11-1.
Yeah, Pruitt has assembled the greatest coaching staff in history, and yada yada
That's
yada.
what it was.
Now they're all out of a job.
where if you have to raise your game to at least a certain level for me to argue with you. Like, if you have absolutely no clue what's going on, I just have no use for you.
Yeah.
So those, or when people make up things that you supposedly said that you didn't say.
Yeah.
Those are always good too.
Yeah. Comment section is cold.
Uncle Lou, there's a lot of stuff that Dan Mullen said over this past season, and I know I'm going to take us to somewhere, your chief rival there in the SEC Eastern Division. And I don't know if there's a team that had higher highs and just not lower lows, but strange, odd lows this past season. So on the high end, finally beat Georgia, finally win the East, more competitive with Alabama than Ohio State and Texas A&M and Georgia. Then you got Dan Mullen coming out after the Texas A&M loss. Oh, the crowd noise was too loud. 20,000 people, too loud for us, making excuses. Runs out onto the field, makes a fool of himself during the Missouri game, incites a riot and a bit of a scuffle there. The Darth Vader costume appearance. And then after the Cotton Bowl, making all sorts of excuses before and after the Cotton Bowl of why they were going to get trounced by 5 touchdowns. Just not a good look for that team when it all was said and done. And then, of course, the infamous shoe throwing, of course.
Right. Never mind the probation, the show cause order, the loss of recruitment time. Never mind all that. Yeah. And well, I'm a Georgia fan. Of course, I'm ragging on that. Florida's own administration. He's dangling by a string down there. I mean, let's call it what it is. This could be his last year there. I mean, let's just be honest. They're not happy with him down there. It's got nothing to do with his record. Let me ask you this. Who else with his record over a 3-year period and his accomplishments over a 3-year period, 3 straight New Year's 6 games, won 2 of them, second place in the division a couple of times, won the division. You mentioned very competitive with Alabama. Where's his raise?
No, it's a great point because you usually see that.
No raise, no extension since the minute he was hired. And he don't like it there either. He wants out. Some people aren't built for that type of a pressure cooker environment. I don't know if that's what it is with him. Take Jim McElwain, for example. I don't think Jim McElwain's a terrible coach. He couldn't stand up to the pressure of Florida or big-time Power 5 SEC football. That was obvious. And he got out. I don't know if that's the case with Dan Mullen. But he's crying constantly now about how college football is changing, and he doesn't like it, and blah, blah, and on, the whole name, image, likeness thing. College football is always changing. Now, there's some drastic changes going on now with name, image, and likeness, and, he doesn't like the transfer portal, which is weird because the only place this guy can find a 5-star is the transfer portal. He can't recruit one to save his life, but for some reason he hates the transfer portal. I think I wouldn't be surprised at all if this is his last year there. And whether it's heading off to the NFL or whatever it is, he doesn't seem to like it there. He doesn't seem to like the direction college football is headed. The administration is not happy with him. The crybaby routine, it's not on a Dabo Swinney level, but it's, Dabo Swinney's busy winning a national title every other year. So his rope is a little longer for that kind of thing. Nick Saban, his rope's a mile long. He talks to the media like they're 2 years old. If almost any other coach tried that, they'd get ran off. But he's Nick Saban. He can do what he wants. The crybaby routine you mentioned, the Texas A&M thing was ridiculous. And then it couldn't have looked any worse. 2 days later, 80% of his team is ate up with coronavirus, after he's saying, we need 100,000 people in the swamp because the reason Texas A&M beat us is because they had 40,000. Which, just take that, just think about that. Think about blaming a loss on 40,000 in attendance. Every other game you've ever coached in the SEC has been 80 to 100,000. But because they had 40 instead of 20, you lost. I mean, so, and nobody wants to hear these excuses. When you're making that kind of money, it's win and nothing else matters. Nobody.
And that was the same thing with Lou, with the Cotton Bowl. We all understand as college football people what the deal is with bowl games. We saw North Carolina go play Texas A&M, one of the 5 best teams in the country, lose half of its offense, and they lost. They played competitively, and people walk away from that game understanding, okay, they were losing a lot of personnel, and you actually have a little bit more respect for North Carolina going down there, putting up a good fight to the end. And if they would have done that against Oklahoma, just shut their mouths, don't make excuses, show up, get your brains beat in, let's say instead of by 35, by maybe a couple touchdowns, because you actually put in a game plan that worked to a certain extent and tried and sent the message to your team that, hey, third stringer, we're going to give you this opportunity on a national stage, and you're going to fight, and you're going to play, and we're going to do everything we possibly can to win this game. You lose by a couple touchdowns, people would have come away with that. Okay, we understand why Florida lost this game by a couple touchdowns. That's not what he did.
Think about being one of those kids on that team that played in that game that wouldn't have played otherwise had all those players not quit. And that's what they did. They quit. I mean, he took a dump on them. I mean, this wasn't even our team played their last game 3 weeks ago. What a boneheaded thing to say. If you show up to play the game, you play to win. To me, that might have been the worst. You ran through a list of things he did this year that rubbed a few people the wrong way. I think that was by far the worst. If you're going to make the decision to play, knowing you're missing whatever players you're missing, you show up there to win the game. You don't show up there to scrimmage, and you definitely don't come out after the game and say, well, basically what he did is he came out and he said, well, what do you expect? Our players are terrible. What do you expect? All of our good players are quit, and we were left with these players that are no good. So, I mean, that's basically what he said. And that's his team next year. Emory Jones, Anthony Richardson, all those wide receivers in that game. Those are all the guys next year. I think that was awful. That was terrible. And I don't, this whole quitting thing, I can't stand it. What a disappointment. What a game that could have been. That might have been the best bowl game of the year. That might have been the best bowl game we've seen in years. That had the potential to be like a Georgia-Oklahoma thing, right? Don't you think? Couldn't you see that game being 50-45?
The two games that I wanted to see when the bowl schedule came out, the 2 games I wanted to see, North Carolina, Texas A&M, I just mentioned, and Oklahoma, Florida.
What a game. And I don't blame Florida in particular for that, because this happens everywhere now. Going all the way back to Josh Rosen 4 or 5 years ago, or whatever it was. It's all everybody talked about for 3 months. Oh, my God, Josh Rosen is not playing in the bowl game. Can you believe this? Oh, holy moly. Now it happens everywhere. I mean, you can't put the toothpaste back. It's only going to get worse. You had players didn't play all season this year. You had players quit. He had players quit halfway through the season. You had players quit at halftime at our bowl game.
Yeah, Oklahoma State wide receiver.
The Oklahoma State wide receiver. These people quit at halftime of a game. what an embarrassment.
Well, back to Mullen on this note, real quick. Most coaches take the opposite approach. Most coaches, if you listen to the entire news conference, the points that don't get played because nobody cares about it is they're hitting the podium talking about Johnny so-and-so's a 4.0 student, and we know that he hardly ever sees the field. They typically are validating all those guys, talking about these guys are the guys that are program players that help us build the program, that are practice squad players that really help us. And they're usually the head coach is the guy that's validating their worth to the team, not busting it. And that's what
I thought it was very, very disrespectful to the players on his team that did choose to play in that bowl game. And I guess we have to, I can't believe we have to pat people on the back for choosing to play in a game. I don't know. It's like, it's like congratulating your kid for cleaning his room. Well, you're supposed to clean your room. What do you want something extra because you did what you were supposed to do? Like, it's a shame that we have to do that, but we do. And again, imagine being one of those kids and you've been on the practice squad all year, or you've been third or fourth string all year. And, you've been waiting and waiting and waiting, and you get your turn to play and you get mollywopped on national TV, and your coach comes out and says, well, our team was no good. What do you expect? Our team played this last game 3 weeks ago. This isn't our team. I mean, what a joke of a statement that was by Dan Mullen.
And to your point, in terms of the player perspective, where is this going to stop? Because right now, the thought process is these bowl games are exhibitions. They don't count. They don't matter. Well, you know that they matter. They count on the team's record just like another non-conference game. If Georgia's 10-2 and they go win the Sugar Bowl, they're 11-2. That's their final record.
Yeah.
And so where does this stop? Well, because the regular season is so sacred, well, 75% of those games don't count toward a championship.
Right.
When Michigan State's 4-5 in the middle of November and they're playing a 3-6 Rutgers team, is a player going to say, no, I got my NFL tape. I'm hearing from the scouts that I'm going to be a second rounder anyway. So see ya.
Yeah. This is a problem that is only going to expand. This isn't going away. You hear the same things like, oh, the bowl games don't count. It's just an exhibition game. If you're not playing for a championship, what's the point? Okay. Well, what do you do when your team starts out 2-2 and your left tackle says, that's it. I'm done. The next game is meaningless. We've already got 2 losses. We're not winning our division or our conference or whatever the case. So I'm done. Are you going to defend that the same way you defend not playing in a bowl game? Because the explanation is going to be the same from the player. It's going to be, I got to look out for my future. I'm an NFL guy. We've already got 2 losses. I went round and round with this on Georgia fans. It didn't bother them at all. They had players sitting out of the bowl game because, no playoffs, no championship. Those same players were ready to suit up and play Vandy the second week of December. Why? What are you going to prove against Vandy that you can't prove against Cincinnati 3 weeks later?
And how many more people were watching that game against Cincinnati? That's my validation of these bowl games, is that unless you're Georgia, Ohio State, somebody of that ilk playing your Florida game, your Alabama game, your Michigan game, that is the game that most people are going to see. That's the one game. Take your favorite team out there, anybody watching, line up your best opponent of the season. Whenever that is, on a Saturday at 3:30 or 7:30 at night, you've got 15 other college football games going on. You don't have the national audience just watching your game, except for when you get to postseason play. So I understand that doesn't make the game worth anymore. But in terms of a spotlight for your program, more people are watching bowl games because they're exclusive. They have exclusive TV rights for those time windows. There's a few that overlap close to New Year's Day. But besides that, that is the showcase for your program. And more people are watching your bowl game than any other game the rest of the season.
Yeah. And let's clear another thing up too. These aren't first round draft picks. 28 of the first 32 picks. So 32 picks in the first round. 28 of the first 32 players picked in last year's NFL draft played in the postseason. 4 did not. These are 5th-round draft people. Mark Webb from Georgia. I don't know. Where does he think he's going? This guy's not playing in the NFL. I mean, this is insane. This guy sits out the bowl game for what? That was your last chance ever in your life to play football, sir. You're not very good. This guy sits out the bowl game to be an undrafted free agent so he can be on a practice squad for 6 weeks. What are you doing? This is so far out of hand now. Well, that's what I'm saying. There's no way it's getting better. This isn't Josh Rosen sitting out because he's Trevor Lawrence. You know what I'm saying? These are 5th, 6th, 7th round picks, undrafted free agents that are sitting out. Why?
Because we've raised an entitled generation.
That's got a lot to do with it. Well, what if they get injured?
Especially these athletes.
Well, what if? What if a piano falls on their head? I mean, I don't want anybody to get injured, but these are football players here. Don't we all know they could get injured on any play? Are you less likely to get injured in a playoff game than you are a conference game? I don't think so. I mean, no, that's a cop out. Well, what if they get injured? Okay, but then what happens when? Here's what I don't get. These same people who are like, well, what if they get injured? It's their choice. Let them do what they want. These same people, okay. It's their choice to ride a 4-wheeler too. They defend that. Okay, you got Sony Michel. What are you doing? This guy's out riding a 4-wheeler on 4th of July. What are you doing? If you're that worried about, you're so worried about getting injured, you can't play in a bowl game. But Richard LeCounte's on a motorcycle at 1 a.m. in the middle of a season, and you're a top 10 team. What are you doing? You're not worried about getting injured in a bowl game if you're out on a motorcycle at 1 a.m. I know it, of course, and it's his right to drive a motor. Of course, it's his right to ride a motorcycle. Of course it is. He can go skydiving. He can go bungee jumping. He can go cliff diving. There's lots of things you have a right to do that aren't good ideas. You can ride a motorcycle in South Carolina without a helmet on. Is that a good idea? No. So what if they get injured in a bowl game? But then they're the first ones to defend. So, a player's got the right to ride a 4-wheeler. I know he's got the right. He's got the right to stay out till 3 a.m. on Friday night drinking beer. He's got the right to do that if he's 21, if he's a junior or a senior. It's not against the law. Is it a good idea?
Scholarship.
Is it a good idea? No.
And by receiving that scholarship, you're signing a contract. You're basically signing a contract when you receive that scholarship, and you need to fulfill a contract. And they're basically breaking a contract when they're doing that as well.
Football players, I get it. They're students. I understand that. They're not treated like anybody else. They live like kings and queens. They eat the best food. They eat better than anybody else. They live better than anybody else. But you do have to give some things up. You can't be at every fraternity party till 2 a.m. You might not be able to go Cancun or whatever on spring break. You got to stay and practice football instead or whatever. So you give a lot up, but you get a lot in return. And even if you don't make it to the NFL, you've got $100,000 degree and unlimited earning power. You're set up for a pretty good life if you make some good decisions while you're there. So, I don't know. This mentality, if I'm draft eligible, I'm not playing in the bowl game. What about the quarterback? What about okay, you got a quarterback. He's borderline. Maybe he gets a Senior Bowl invite, Maybe he gets invited to the combine. He has to play in the bowl game. The left tackle says, "Well, I'm not playing. I'm a 4th-round pick." And someone breaks the quarterback in half in the bowl game. Well, whose fault is that? Should the quarterback not have played because maybe he's a 7th-round pick? Or should the left tackle have played and blocked the guy? I mean, you're letting your team down. You're letting your teammates down. Not every junior or senior is going to make it in the NFL. Some of them need that bowl game for the extra tape or whatever else. Look at Kyle Trask. Now, Kyle Trask is going to get, and I hate Florida. I felt bad for Kyle Trask in the first half of that game. I felt terrible. And the NFL is smart. They're not going to hold that against him. The 3 interceptions or whatever it was, and he looked like he'd never seen a football before. They're not going to hold that against him. The NFL is smart. They get what was going on. But didn't you feel bad? You had to, even if you hate Florida like me, you had to feel bad watching Kyle Trask in the first half of that game. His teammates let him down. And it's a shame. And no, it's not going to get any better. It's going to get a lot worse. I've done changed my mind on expanding the playoffs now because I love football. Now, I think college football has the best regular season in all of sports, period, and it's not close. And the reason I think that is because the chances of getting into the playoffs are so small that every single game matters to the point where sometimes the scores of games, matter. Not as much as it used to when you had the computers and you had to blow people out to mess with the computer algorithm. But still, when it comes down to trying to figure out who should be 5th versus 4th, if they have a common opponent, the score is looked at. It's just every single quarter of every single game is so important in the college football regular season. And the more you add on to this playoff thing, well, we're going to lose some of that importance. But we're about to lose everything on the back end if we don't do something different, because these games are just not worth watching. I mean, they had too many bowl games to start with, even when all the players were playing. No one cares about the Red Box Bowl or the Idaho Potato Bowl, but why do we need a walk-on bowl? That's embarrassing just to
I
get
care about them, Lou.
Well,
I watch them. I care about them. I like to see.
I get it.
I like to see non-conference matchups. I like to see non-conference matchups, especially since in the bowl games we get to see like-seeded teams play each other. So I like the 4th place team in the Pac-12 playing the 4th place team in the Big 12. I like those matchups. So I pay attention. I know I'm a nerd and I'm in the minority.
Yeah. Well,
so you're for the playoff expansion now.
I'm for it now because I think that's the only thing that's going to save the postseason. I don't see anything else. I mean, we're headed toward a situation right now where all you have is playoffs. I mean, that's coming.
My argument for expansion and there still being meaningful games. Here's my take, Lou. I understand the argument that if we expand the playoffs, there are going to be games that it's going to take away, just like college basketball. It's going to take away from the regular season, the meaning of the games. But I'm saying that at 8 out of 130, so we expanded from 4 to 8 out of 130 FBS teams, roughly 65 Power 5 teams, that we're actually going to have more games that are meaningful because we're going to have games played in the last 2 weekends of the season in which they wouldn't have normally had an impact on the playoffs, but now we're giving more opportunity for other games to be meaningful. So I think both are going to happen because you're still going to have those situations where Alabama's undefeated and they can lose a game and be like, we're good. We'll still be in the playoff. But if we go to on-campus games for that first round, then is Alabama possibly going to think twice about maybe having to go to Columbus or Madison, Wisconsin for their first round playoff game rather than playing at home? Maybe that's the cure.
Yeah. There are certain ways if they structure it, if they do certain things, I'll be more inclined to like it from the very beginning. Home games to me would be a huge deal. I would love for there to be a first round home playoff game if they go to 8. I would be in favor of that. I don't know what's going to happen with conference championship games when we go to 8. I don't know what's going to happen there. I don't know what's going to happen with Notre Dame when we go to 8, because most of what you hear is, well, the 5 conference winners will be guaranteed a spot. The highest group of 5 will be guaranteed a spot. And the next 2 highest ranked teams will be guaranteed a spot. You're still going to have poll manipulation to get certain teams in certain places like you do now. It's just going to be doubled. The Final Four last year, and I forget the order, The order was wrong. Everyone knew the order was wrong. The order was placed that way to avoid a third Notre Dame Clemson game. That's it. That's all. I mean, there's no logical explanation for that Final Four playoff ranking. They didn't want to see Notre Dame and Clemson play a third time. Okay, fine. You're gonna have the same thing here. You go to 8 teams. Oh well, if the 5 conference winners are getting in a group of 5, that leaves 2. They're gonna have Notre Dame in there. You're gonna have the same thing. Notre Dame will be placed where they need to go. The 9th place team is, this isn't going to be fair to the 9th place team, just like it's not fair to the 5th place team now. Wasn't fair to the 3rd place team back when. That's the part I don't like.
Here's the difference.
Some people are under the impression that 8 teams is some kind of panacea where now we have it. Now this is perfect. Now it's scientific. No, it's never going to be scientific. It's 130 teams. It's impossible. It's never going to be.
I got a video for you to watch, Lou.
What's that? What do you do? 130 teams? Don't even. Listen, I'm hanging up. I'm clicking the X right now. If you're fixing to try to explain to me why we need 130 team play.
No. I have come up with a system. Now I have explained it's not the perfect system because, like you just said, there is no perfect system that doesn't exist. But at least it's a logical system. And these are the 2 things that make sense here, Lou. This is the one. These are a couple reasons why the 9th place team can't say, hey, you left us out. We've got an argument. Because you're going to have less poll manipulation because you got 5 automatic champions that are making it. So there's no poll manipulation. If Washington's a Pac-12 champion, they're number 16 in the country. We don't care what their ranking is. They've made it. You're selecting 5 champions. Or they're selecting themselves. That's what I like about it. I don't like a selection process. I like there's no selection in the NFL playoffs. They just make the playoffs. There's going to be the group of 5 winner that I would assume would be the best record out of the group of 5. But the reason the 9th team can't argue to the extent that they can now as a 5th team is that at least their conference has been represented. Right now, not every conference is represented. So we've got conference champions saying, what about us? Why do we
but not if it's Notre Dame or BYU. See, this is what I'm saying. Who's better, an 11-1 Notre Dame or a 12-1 Florida from this past year? What do you know what I mean? Their decisions still have to be made by somebody. Who's better, the 3rd best SEC team or Notre Dame? Those decisions will still have to be made.
Well, if Notre Dame gets left out any year, that's their fault for not joining a conference. So if they get selected, great. If they don't get selected, they've got nothing to argue because, hey, you didn't want to be part of the official process. So the one thing in all this that I think is I attempted at fixing the scheduling because I think more fairly, I don't think, again, it can't be perfect, but to more fairly evaluate the teams, you got to fix the scheduling. So anyway, I'm not going to go through all that. But the point being about Notre Dame, I just think that I think the next issue is the group of 5. There has to be a determination. Right now, we are teasing, patronizing, playing with the group of 5 and basically insulting the group of 5. If you 12-0 and they're number 12 in the country, we're basically saying, as the selection committee is telling the group of 5, you're good enough that we're going to tease you by ranking you and feel good about being number 12 and number 18 in Coastal Carolina. You can be number 21. Feel good about being part of our rankings, but you're never going to you've got no shot at being in the top 4. So you're not really considered. So there has to be a distinction made, either include the group of 5, formally include them, give them their 1 spot, or completely exclude them and say, go play your own playoffs. One or the other, not this just, we consider you, but
I agree.
Really, we don't.
Yeah, telling them that they're eligible for the playoffs, but knowing that really it's just never going to happen. And that's obviously where we're at right now, you know, and I've said the same thing. They should just come out and tell the group of 5, you're not getting in. That's just what it is. And also for the group of 5, quit being so gullible. They could have formed their own playoff system this year, last year, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago. I don't know why they allow themselves to be dangled from the rope. They have to know they're not getting in. So they could have not fixed it, but they could have done something about it, and they've chosen not to. They could have their own playoff. There's nothing stopping them from doing it. They could do it. They could do it. They could announce it right now, but they're not getting into the playoff as it exists now. And I agree. Whatever expansion they do, whatever rules or stipulations they implement on how to get in or whatever, there needs to be a guaranteed spot for a group of 5 team. I don't care if it ends up being a 9-3 team. So somebody has to get in. You have to let them in every year, or they're going to find a reason to keep them out in the years that even one is 12-0, because that's what they're doing now. They're finding a reason to keep them out now.
Yeah,
they're going to find another reason to keep them out at 8 unless you guarantee that one of them gets in. Now, determining who that is, again, it's going to be people are going to be selecting who that is. There's no way around it.
Oh, I think there's a way around it.
How's that?
You want the system here, Lou. You get your 5 conference champions.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to include the group of 5, you give it to the team with the best record. I looked at the playoff season, so the 7 college football playoff era seasons. We would only have a tie for the best record once. So the other 6 times, there's a clear team with just the best record in the group of 5. The other time you go to a head-to-head, which most of the time there's not going to be a head-to-head game to go to. But if there is, then you got that tiebreaker. Then number 3, you go to strength of record, which is a combination of strength of schedule versus how much you controlled the games or dominated the schedule. And that's your tiebreaker. That's what I'm going with.
Okay. So every group of 5 conferences given the same weight. So being 11-1 in the best group of 5 conference won't be good enough if somebody from the Patriot League is 12-0.
Well, we're treating the Power 5 the same as well.
Oh, I know. I agree.
With all the champions getting in.
Oh, I know.
And that's not the case, as we will know. And I would apply.
I'm open to anything almost. I'm open to almost anything. To me, I'm a college football traditionalist. I have accepted changes in the past because you don't really have a choice. So you just know, you have a lot of people that still complain about the targeting stuff. There would be no college football if they didn't make that change. There was people ready to shut football down. I don't know if some of these people don't remember, but Congress was having discussions all the time, and people were suing all over the place about concussions, and doctors were coming out saying this is, the American football is the new Roman gladiator. I mean, there was seriously people that were looking at shutting all this stuff down. So you had to make some changes there. But I'm generally a traditionalist. I've heard you talk about we don't have to get into it. I'm just trying to make a point that how you would change the way conferences schedule games based on previous years versus the way like the SEC does it now, where Georgia always plays Auburn no matter what. Doesn't matter. We play Auburn and one basically random other team that's on a 6-year rotation. I want to play Auburn every year. You
would. In my system, you would.
I know. And there are some things I'm willing to give up in college. I don't want to be like the NFL. So there's certain things I'm willing to give up because I know we need more playoff teams, and I know we need a way to more fairly maybe judge some of the things we're looking at when it comes to rankings and stuff like that. And I get that. I'm willing to make some concessions there. But I just feel like we have to hang on. There are some traditions in college football that we can't hang on to. We just can't. We have to let them go. And this, going back as far as you want, there was, we look back on some traditions now, and we're like, how was that allowed? But it was. So I know with some things we just got to let go of. But the things that we can keep as traditional as possible, we need to keep as traditional as possible. Georgia's been playing Auburn since the 1800s. I don't want that to change. I like playing Tennessee every year. I just get used to it after a while, I guess. I mean, that's something I just don't want to change. We can go back to playing football on college campuses. I think that would be a good idea. I don't know how I don't know who sat down one day and went, what would be a good idea if we started playing college football, not on college campuses anymore. I don't even know how that money, I'm sure somebody waved a bunch of money around, I'm sure is how it started. Hey, come play a game in Atlanta. Here's $1 bill, and someone chased it. And now you've got 8 neutral site week 1 games, almost everybody in America plays a neutral site game during the regular season at some point. And then you got the bowl games. And I'm okay with the bowl games because I look at that as like a reward at the end of the season. Yeah, let the kid, especially you take a kid that's lived in Ohio his whole life, maybe he plays for Michigan, and he gets to spend a week in the end of December in Orlando. That's great. I'm all for that. But some of this stuff I'd like to, do away with.
The first neutral site NFL stadium game I can remember was following the 1983 Miami National Championship. They came up with what was called the Kickoff Classic. You probably remember the Kickoff Classic the next year, and they pitted Miami and Auburn. Like Miami and Auburn were two of the top 3 or 4 teams in the country the year before, and they started matching up two of the best teams, or what were supposed to be two of the best teams in the country, in the Kickoff Classic, and they played like 4 or 5 days before everybody else started. And then that just kind of exploded into this. We're going to play in Atlanta and Houston and all over the place with these neutral site games.
Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like playing Florida and Jacksonville. I don't like the Texas and OU game being played at a carnival, even though it is a little bit of
well, that's tradition, Lou.
I know that. I know that's tradition, but that's that's what I mean.
And some for them, that's a tradition.
Some stuff I'm not. But I don't know. I'm in the minority with that opinion.
I don't necessarily think that, Lou. I'm right there with you. I want to hold on to as many traditions as possible. And the thing that bothers me about the SEC schedule in particular, and it goes into the other conferences as well, is I want to preserve Auburn and Georgia. I would definitely do that. My scheduling format does that, but I just don't know why Texas A&M and South Carolina have to play every year. What is the connection between, just because there are certain non-division teams that are rivals, Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia, Auburn, etc. There's a few. Those are legit. Keep those. Why do you have to match up everybody? You don't have to do that with everybody else. You rotate everybody else.
Yeah.
Over the next 60 years, I'm just throwing a number out there. Over the next 60 years, if the scheduling format doesn't change in the SEC, Texas A&M and South Carolina will play 60 times. Alabama and Georgia will play 10 times. Does that seem like that's right?
Yeah. Well, no. But again,
10 times in 60 years.
Yeah. There is no way to even it out, though. No matter how you change it, it's going to end up lopsided. The only difference is now you know where the lopside is going to be. If you randomize it, you just don't know where the lopside is going to be. Georgia's still going to play Florida 60 times in the next 60 years. Maybe we play Texas A&M 5 times. Maybe we play them 30 times. Maybe we play them 40 times. Maybe we never play them on your model. Georgia would not play. No. Georgia would. When would Georgia play Ole Miss, Mississippi State, or Arkansas under your model? Because don't you match it up based off records from the year before? So
yes, we
would never play those teams. When would Alabama play Vandy? Never.
No, they would play them. If you disband the divisions and you're just looking to keep the rivalries, number one, number two, create a composite 500 schedule from the year before, you can mix and match all you want. And if you say, Alabama and Vandy haven't played in 5 years, let's get them together, then you just have to rework other games to get everyone to that 500 composite schedule.
Yeah.
A lot of people are commenting, and I appreciate everybody that's leaving a lot of questions and comments. We probably won't be able to get to those, but we appreciate them. It was my intent to scan those, but get Lou going, and we'd rather listen to that. So we'll do that. I appreciate the super chats coming in. We both do, from Walter Ray, Hurricane Logan, Chugmo Beer. I'll read those as I can get to them. We got Chugmo Beer. Hello, Mark. You are hardest working man on YouTube. Smash the like button. Chugmo Beer, thank you so much for that. Hurricane Logan, what's he got here? Some said, I believe that is a typo, said De'Ara King, the man. A lot of guys opted out. Then King got hurt. Terrible. Yes, he got hurt. He was playing football. He got hurt. That's unfortunate. Walter Ray commenting about you being on a real show, Lou. So I just read it because it's the super chat. I honor all super chats regardless of what they say. So
this is a great show.
I appreciate that. I can't imagine anybody's watching right now that's unfamiliar with Uncle Lou, but if that's the case, anybody watching, whether it be live or on the rewatch, just type in Uncle Lou on the search bar on YouTube, and you will probably get lost in a ton of football talk and entertainment. It's a good time, no question about that. He will make you laugh. I can just about guarantee, or he'll piss you off. One of the two.
One
He
of the
will
two.
probably do one of
Sometimes
those
both
two.
at the same time. Sometimes you'll find yourself laughing and then go, wait a minute. That pisses me off.
He just insulted my team.
Yeah.
But it's actually kind of true. But and there's a ton of people in here commenting that we've never gotten on a video together, and they're saying, man, this is great. This is the first time these two have ever gotten together. Well, that's not the case. It's been about 5 times, I would say. Something.
We've done severally. We even wrangled you onto the morning show one time.
We did that.
And didn't talk football at all. That
was in my eyes, and
that was interesting. We found out a lot about old Mark Rogers that day.
I was trying to be somewhat coherent at 7:30 in the morning. After probably I stayed up till 4:30. But we got Uncle Lou on here. It's a good time talking college football. So, and I appreciate you not even taking me to the stake for Dan Mullen. You know, I was waiting for that.
Oh no, I know that's your boy.
That is. See, here's my quick take on Dan Mullen. I defended Dan Mullen going into this season. I just thought he's quirky. I don't necessarily want him coaching my team. He's quirky, says some stupid things, but it's all pretty harmless. This season, he went over the edge.
Yeah.
In my book.
Yeah. Well,
and to your point about recruiting.
With what you said isn't that you thought he was a good coach or a great coach or whatever. Was that you said I thought he was better than Kirby Smart. And I thought that was ridiculous then, and I think it's ridiculous now. I'm a biased Georgia fan, but people can tell me till they're blue in the face, oh, Kirby inherited a loaded team. Yeah, but these are the same people that have been telling me that Georgia has been garbage for 30 years, but somehow Kirby inherited a loaded team. But nevertheless, I guess, college football has been around how long? 140 years now? Kirby must be the luckiest guy alive, because if anybody wants to post any coach you can think of, post their record, their first 5 years in the Power 5, and then post Kirby's, I'll be happy to. I'd be happy to look at it with you, including Dan Mullen or whoever else you want to post. Nick Saban, Dabo Swinney, Bear Bryant, General Nealon. Post whoever you want their first 5 years of Kirby's, and we'll look at it, and then I can watch all of you dance yourselves into the corner of a circular room. When you go back to, oh, well, Kirby inherited a loaded team. Like, Kirby's the only coach in history who ever inherited a team with any talent on it. That's why he averages 11 wins a year over the course of his career, and has done more in 5 years than most coaches will do in a lifetime. Not because he's a good coach.
It is pretty impressive to see what Mark Richt, I know it's been a long time ago, but to see the beginning of his tenure at Georgia, because Georgia football wasn't in a great place. It wasn't bad. It wasn't awful, but there were a lot of 7-5s before Mark Richt showed up.
Yeah. Well, Donnan did win 10 one year, I think.
I think so.
Yep. Yeah. Donnan's now Goff was the low point. Goff was
5-6 year.
Now he came after Vince Dooley, and Vince Dooley's not Nick Saban. He's not Bear Bryant. He's not General Nealon. He's not on the Mount Rushmore like that. But he was a great college coach, Vince Dooley was. He won the SEC there 3 years in a row from 80 to 82. And Bama still had Bear Bryant then. It's not like Dooley was busy winning the SEC when there was nobody else around. Bear Bryant was at Alabama in 80. He was at Alabama in 81. He was at Alabama in 82. Vince Dooley won the SEC all 3 of those years, won a national title, 1 game away from winning a national title in 81 and 82. So it was a great coach. He was a great coach. And you don't, historically, you don't want to be the guy that comes after a guy like that. Look at Florida after, or Alabama after almost any national title coach they've ever had. You don't want to be that guy. So Goff was bad. Donnan started to turn it around, though. He had a couple of pretty good seasons. And more than anything else, he recruited a different kind of player than what Goff was recruiting. A lot of the success that Richt had, particularly in 2002, well, in 2002, those were all Donnan players, every single one of them. Because that was Rick's, first or second year, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Donnan beat Tennessee in one of the most historic Georgia home games of all time. They had beat us something like 10 straight or something like that. It's the only time the goalposts have ever come down at Sanford Stadium. Uncle Lou was there. Ran out on the field, hanging from the goalpost, the whole thing. Gave
Nice.
Carter a high five right at the 50-yard line. That was a sight to see. That was something to be a part of. You see it on TV. We've all seen it on TV a million times, whether it's the football field or the basketball court, whatever it is, when the people rush the thing. That was something to be a part of. That was something. I'll take that memory with me if I live to be 500 years old. I wouldn't do it now. Obviously, I'm 40-something years old. This was 2000 when this happened. I was, how old was I? 22. So, what an experience. I mean, it was amazing. People were walking out of that stadium. You've heard the expression about when you stay in a hotel, people will steal anything that's not nailed down.
Sure.
They walked out of that stadium with everything except the grass. I mean, I saw people walking out with the benches that the players sit on, Gatorade coolers, the uprights, of course, were in 4 or 5 different pieces each. I saw people marching down the main street in downtown Athens with a big field goal thing. There's about 10 of them in a row, a big field goal thing over their shoulders. And somebody from the Georgia band was right behind them playing the dun, 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 marching down the street in downtown Athens at 2:30 in the morning. It's unbelievable. So he started to turn it around, but clearly Mark Richt took it to another level. And I get the comparisons between Rick's first 4 or 5 years, whatever they post all the time, and Kirby's. What a huge compliment that is to Kirby. I don't know that anybody could say anything nicer or a better or more of a compliment to Kirby than that. Mark Richt wasn't fired for what he did in his first 5 years in Athens. He was fired for what he did his last 10 years, which was nothing. So if Kirby goes 10 years without winning the SEC, guess what? He'll be out of a job, just like Mark Richt was. Mark Richt was not fired because he won the SEC twice in his first 5 years there. And, that's not why he was fired. He was fired because he didn't win the SEC in his last 10 years there. That's why he was fired. So if Kirby Smart has a record like Mark Richt's last 5 years, then you can start asking me if I think Kirby's on the hot seat. But to say that, oh, ha, 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 Kirby has a similar record to Mark Richt his first 5 years, ha, what a compliment. Great compliment. You can't name 5 coaches that had a better first 5 years than Kirby Smart and Mark Richt. Lincoln Riley, Ryan Day, Bob Stoops. There's no one else on the list. Who is it? I mean, I'm willing to learn something here today. If somebody can tell me who had a better first 5 years than Kirby, Mark Richt, Bob Stoops, Lincoln Riley, and Ryan Day's only been there now 3 years. But if someone can tell me, I'm willing to listen.
It's only 2 years for Ryan Day.
2 years, yeah, and he's done a little bit more than Kirby has done. Ryan Day's got 2 conference titles and a playoff win. Kirby's got 1 conference title and a playoff win.
So even though we had
Riley's got a bunch of conference titles and no playoff wins.
Even though we had a rough first year at, I think, 5-6 or 6-6, I'm going to throw out Pete Carroll.
Oh, yeah. At Southern Cal.
Yeah, that would have been 01 to 0.
He was in the NFL and came to Southern Cal and then back to the NFL.
Yep.
Yeah. Where was he at? New England?
The Jets and the Patriots.
Jets and Patriots. That's right. Yeah. Yeah. What a terrible list to be on. Kirby, Mark Richt, Pete Carroll, Bob Stoops, Lincoln Riley, and Ryan Day. Man, when are they going to fire Kirby already?
That is pretty much it right there.
Yeah.
Got Uncle Lou on the line. Good discussion here. I'd love to stay on the Georgia beat here for a minute because you've got to defend this almost every day.
Look at him go.
Oh, yep. They're going to get to it here, I'm sure. I'm not going to be able to keep track. You got to hear about 1980 all the time. And I especially hear from, I would have never guessed this. if I wasn't doing what I'm doing and taking these comments every day, that the fan base that seems to want to pick on Georgia football more than any is not Ohio State or Clemson or somebody that can kind of maybe at least think that they could look down on Georgia right now. It's Miami fans want to keep bringing up all their championships.
These people, Jesus, Lord Christ, the Miami man. Hey, did you know they won 5 national titles?
They did. I dusted off the record books and I found the last one. Yeah.
If you go down there, to their campus and you walk into their thing and they've got their trophy case there, right? It's got their 5 national titles in it from when they were either independent or in the Big East. Sorry, I laugh every time I say that. And then right next to that, they have a gold-plated cover of the ESPN 30 for 30 that they did on the U. Both of them.
I've watched both of those. They're not necessarily something to be proud of.
Oh, listen, Miami man I know the Miami man is in here. Tell Mark Rogers what the greatest ESPN 30 for 30 of all time is. Tell him. Oh, Mark Rogers. I almost called you Mark Rick. Mark Rogers. They talk about this like you would talk about your son making the All-Star team in Little League or something. They're so proud of this ESPN 30 for 30. They can't stand it. I think I know why. Most of them, I don't think most of them were alive when Miami was winning national titles, but they've seen that 30 for 30. You know, I don't understand this, Mark Rogers. I don't. We're better than Georgia because we have 5 national titles, and or we're better than Georgia because we have a more recent national title. Hey, Miami man, is Florida State better than you today? Yes or no? And is 2013 more recent than 2001? Yes or no? This is how dumb you sound, Miami man. You could have 105 national titles. You're not better than Georgia today. There ain't a soul in here that would bet $1 on you to beat Georgia tomorrow. Nobody in here. Nobody hates money that much. Okay, been in ACC 17 years, can't win it.
That is astounding to me. I never thought that would happen. The day that Miami joined
in the iPhone era. One bowl win, Mark Rogers, in the iPhone era. And let's be real, it's not like Miami is lined up at the New Year's Six every year, is it? No, they're losing to people like Louisiana Tech. And who beat them this year, Mark Rogers?
Oklahoma State.
Oh, my God. Are they a Power 5 team, at least?
They didn't have their best running back with them.
Oh.
Chuba Hubbard didn't show up for that game.
Well, De'Aaron King sat out, didn't he?
No.
What? Stop it. Oh, my God. This is too much. They're one recruiting class away.
I knew this would be good.
We could just recruit the South Florida kids. Yeah, no one's thought of that. I bet no one's thought of that, especially all 130 other teams who all recruit South Florida. Oh, you know what they need? Here's what we need to do. Imagine being a fly on the wall of this conversation. You got Handy Manny sitting around. He's going, what can we do to break out of this funk? Some anonymous nobody in the corner goes, hire Ed Reed and make him operations manager. Oh my God. Ooh. Ed Reed. I don't know how that's working out. What is an operations manager? Nobody knows. What is this guy? He you know what he is? When the recruits come, they point. They say, that? That's Ed Reed over there. And the recruit's like, who's Ed Reed? And they say, oh, he played here when you were 2. Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, shout out to Ed Reed then. Shout out to Ed Reed. My God. You know what the difference between, what's the difference between Ed Reed and Alonzo 1219?
Oh boy.
A lot of football ability. That's it. That's it. There is no other difference. Shout out to Reek1219 though.
I don't know if Ed Reed's got a YouTube channel, but
My pet. I'm here, Reek.
yeah, I do enjoy that Miami Georgia battle that I have to.
I don't understand how it started. I mean, I think we played once in the 60s. I think they even beat us. I'd have to look it back up, but there's no history there. I mean, I don't.
Yeah.
It's weird, but what would Georgia be favored by? 17? They played pick any random year over the last 15 years. On average, Georgia would be what, a 17-point favorite? I don't get it. I don't understand. I can't think of a year off the top of my head where Georgia would have lost to them. 2011, was that the year we went 6-7 and lost to Central Florida in a bowl game? Maybe that year, Miami. I'd have to go back and look at what kind of season Miami had that year. I don't remember.
Probably went 6.
Irrelevant. I don't care. But anyway, man, remember that time Miami won their division?
They did win the division.
That was something, wasn't it?
Unfortunately, they had to play a conference championship game.
Oh man, forgot about that.
They kicked a field goal at the end.
Yeah,
they did get on the board.
They made a New Year's Six bowl though.
Had to play Wisconsin for a third time.
Oh, that's
0-3.
What?
0-3 against Wisconsin.
What?
In bowl games. Yeah.
Oh my God.
These bowl selection people then matched up Wisconsin and Miami the very next year, and then Wisconsin beat them 35-3 the next year in a bowl game. Beat them 2 years in a row.
Man. Do they have a losing record to Duke? No, I don't think a losing record. But how many? Well, no. Did they play Duke this year, or did that game get canceled?
I think that. Oh, they beat Duke. They blasted Duke pretty well. They did.
Snap
They
that two-game losing streak.
They lost
Snap
2 straight
that
years.
losing streak they had. Okay. Imagine having a 2-game losing streak to Duke, and I'm not talking about 2 games 100 years ago. Imagine losing to Duke in 18 and 19, and then spending all of 2020 telling people how good you're going to be. I mean, if you lost it, any fluke can happen, right? A fluke can happen.
Sure.
You lose to Duke 2 years in a row, you're not suddenly making the playoffs that 3rd year. It's not. I'm sorry, it's not happening. I'm sorry, it's not.
And it's not much of a fluke when you match up Duke with FIU, Georgia Tech, and Louisiana Tech.
The only team. How many bowl games are there? 102. The only team not to score a point, Miami. Wow.
And the only Power 5 team ever to get shut out by a Group of 5 team in a bowl game.
My God. You're an encyclopedia of embarrassing information.
Well, I've been accused of half of that before.
Yeah.
Useless information, typically.
When's
All right,
Florida State coming back? ACC needs that bad, don't they?
Mm-hmm. They need Miami and Florida State.
Were you about to say that it's time to go? Oh, it is time to go. Well, one more thing. So we're not just talking about the SEC. While we're on the ACC,
you're welcome.
True or false? North Carolina is the closest right now anyone in the ACC has been to Clemson since 2014 FSU. Not asking you to pick the upset here, but it's
Florida State was a really good team through 2016. They won an Orange Bowl, finished in the top 10 in 16.
Oh, okay. Well, since then for sure, huh?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Miami had that good year a couple of years ago, won the division in that. But North Carolina,
bit of smoke and mirrors.
Good coaching, good recruiting. This isn't a 1-year flash in a pan like Miami had a couple of years ago under Rick. We had
they're on a roll.
They've been building here since they got Mac Brown. And there was a lot of hype this past offseason for North Carolina. And forget the whole coronavirus thing for a second. That messed everybody up. But I thought that was a year too early from the get-go. Not that I didn't think North Carolina would be good, but there was some people really talking out of their mind about North Carolina at this time last year about the 2020 season. And I was like, I think they'll be good. Let's wait. And they were an up and down team this year. And maybe some of that you can put on Corona. But losing to Florida State, that's hard to figure out. But this year, I'm not saying they're going to win the ACC or beat Clemson or anything like that. But if they play their best game against Clemson, it'd be a good game. They need a running back because they lost both those running backs. But their defense is going to be better than at any time under Mac Brown.
Yep.
Al's a junior. I mean, it seems like it's been building towards this year for North Carolina. It's what this, it's what it seems like. Now, Clemson's not going to go anywhere. They're not just going to roll over, and any questions that people had at the quarterback position with them losing, maybe you had some questions heading into last year about this year, but we saw the ukulele play 2 games. He didn't look bad to me.
No, he can play.
It wasn't his fault they lost to Notre Dame.
No.
You know what I mean? That dude is no joke. I mean, as a Georgia fan, I'm extremely worried. We have a young secondary, inexperienced, a lot of talent, but it's never played. We lose our top 3 corners from last year, and we got to play the ukulele week 1. That's not easy to do. I lost you, Mark. You there? Mark Rogers has done froze up. Look at him. He looks like a Greek god.
No.
Look at him. You there? Uh-oh. You there?
Okay. I think that was me. I think that was my issue.
Yeah, you froze up on my hand. You look like the statue of David.
Yes.
Get that chin. Anyway, I was talking about Georgia and Clemson, though. The ukulele is no joke, and Georgia's secondary has never played it down, ever. We lost our top 3 corners from last year. Gone. One of them's at Miami. So,
yeah.
Clemson's not just going to roll over for North Carolina, and I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, Clemson could beat Georgia. I mean, they have a really good team, get all their defense back, too. So it's not going to be easy for North Carolina, but I do think this is the most interesting ACC season, I think, in a while. It was hard to even pick an the underdog. Your underdog pick in the ACC would have been the second best. Trying to pick an like you don't pick an underdog in the SEC by going, what, I'm going to take Georgia as my underdog pick. That's not an underdog pick. Now Georgia's clearly the second behind Bama right now or whatever, but the second behind Clemson was so far back.
Yeah.
Everyone was an underdog except Clemson. And then that division had somebody different win it 7 years in a row. So there wasn't even a clear cut second best team. It was literally someone different every year. This will be an interesting year in the ACC, I think, if North Carolina can play at a more consistent. If North Carolina can consistently play at their top level. And you know this, Mark, that's what separates an Alabama from a lot of other teams. Of course, the talent is there, but it's the ability to get the most out of that talent every single Saturday. That is not easy to do when you're talking about 18, 19, and 20-year-old kids. You can have all the talent in the world. It's hard to get them to perform up to their level every single week. It's hard to do, but we'll see.
That Alabama machine is impressive. And yes, North Carolina would be the hope for the rest of the conference, because look at the scores of these ACC championship games every year. They are ugly.
Yeah.
Uncle Lou stopping by to talk college football with us. We appreciate that. Lou, you have yourself a great day. It's always a great time. You're always welcome
on the voice of college football with Mark Rogers. Thanks for having me on. Oh, this was great. The hour went by way too quick, but I had a great time. Thanks for having me on. Shout out to everybody in the comments section, even the Typer trolls. And please, you're not a legitimate troll unless you get one of these. Cut the cord. Imagine trying to be a Typer troll in 2021 with a wired keyboard. My God, you guys got a lot of work to do. Have a good morning.
See you, Lou. I appreciate everybody being here for the last hour. It's been a great conversation with Uncle Lou. And of course, I believe everybody on here knows who he is. But if you don't, type in Uncle Lou in the search bar. Check out his YouTube channel. Of course, also, we're going to be back here. Got to catch that landline. I get made fun of for that all the time. But hey, it's $10 a month, so we just keep it around. 4:15 Miami Football Talk live with the Wholesome One. 5:30 with our Florida State boys, and then at 7 o'clock talking Clemson for an hour on our Clemson live stream as the Tigers go to spring practice this week. Appreciate everybody being in the live chat. We will see you soon. That means in just about 3 hours.